Hey everybody, this is Ozark Prepper 1. Happy Monday. This is the week that will end on the 24th, I believe. Today, let's talk about something I'm seeing a lot of, and the two get confused sometimes. Anxiety and fear. Now, we're not supposed to have a spirit of fear because the enemy that people are fearing has already been defeated. That enemy is defeated. He's done. You know, his court date came. He's just waiting on his punishment. And that's why we're not supposed to have a spirit of fear. I sometimes fear mosquitoes. A lot of the videos I watch, I won't name names or anybody because they're all good people. We all react different. And some may say it about myself. You can sense the anxiety and the fear in a person's voice, or how they approach the camera. I never approach the camera, and I do it because I'm small town USA, and I don't want the attention. But they say, guys, we got to do something. Oh my God! And no, you don't have to panic. You don't have to be in fear, unless it's spiders getting in your hair like mine right now. But what you have to do is live right, prepare accordingly, not out of panic and fear, out of the knowledge of what's coming. You know what's coming. You know, don't know what time it'll happen. You know, different trials and tribulations happen on different days for different people. We've all got a buddy that you went to high school with, and they'll work a job somewhere, and you'll work a job somewhere. You never seem to get fired about the same time, unless you're working at the same place doing the same goofy thing that gets you fired. But there are times when your buddy will be doing really good and you won't. And there'll be times when you're doing really good and your buddy's not. And you'll notice that when you'll ask them to do something, like, hey man, let's go hang out here and do this. And they can't because they're kind of in the hole financially. That's where you come in. You're supposed to pick your friend up, especially if they're living right. I don't know if that's a rock or looks like some sort of a plate. Hard to say. But that's how we're supposed to help our friends. We're not supposed to live in fear. The enemies are supposed to fear us. People who are doing wrong are supposed to live in fear. People who have nefarious plans, they're supposed to live in fear. And we're supposed to make them fear us. And the way you do that is you let them know that they don't know what day will be their last. What day they will be confronted and exposed. You know, do you know why people don't go door to door in the United States is because they are in fear. They're in fear of something coming back out at them about 2,200 feet per second. Because if they were to do that, they have nefarious plans. So they're not going to do that out of fear. Sometimes they put on their little protective stuff or whatever, but you can only protect so much. They're still in fear. You know that would hurt. But if you look at the country of Australia, the bad guys don't have any fear, and people show their true colors. But when the people rise up, the bad guys show their fear. They run away. That's the truth. Go back to your high school days and your grade school days. The bully never picked on the bigger, meaner guy. The bully never bullied somebody that would pound his head. They only bullied the weak and the unarmed. And that's just something to take in today. Someone comes to your place, they need to be in fear for their life, unless they know you. Somebody thinks they're going to breach your door and come in your home, or cross your gate, your fence. They need to be in fear when they do that, and they won't do it. The reason drug addicts rob people is because they're on drugs, and their senses are dulled, and their sense of a healthy fear is gone. Their risk assessment. And the way they do it with powers that be is they'll take guys like, say, in Australia, those police and all those people there. Well, a lot of them think they're doing the right thing. They think they're doing God's work. They're saving these people's lives with that magic potion, and keeping them away from each other so they don't poison each other. I just walked into some more spiders. Yep, country living. Nothing like spiders crawling around your hair. Yeah, they're awful brave when the people don't have anything to use back against them. But, I was pretty impressed with the people there when they ran right through them, and one guy was just tackling them like a football player. But could you imagine if all those citizens that showed up there had a baseball bat in their hand, just a baseball bat, or a steel bar? They'd been unstoppable. I mean, but that just shows that the right and wrong too, because those people weren't there to hurt anybody. They're just there to get the message across. Hey, we don't like this, and it's going to stop. And I think people are pretty patient now, because if this would have happened, even in the 70s, imagine what people would have done. The violent level would have been off the charts. They wouldn't have even thought of attempting this back then, or even 20 years ago. They had to use a tricky little building thing coming down and put that on screens for everybody to see it. Everybody, oh my God, we got to do something. Here, let's take away our rights. That'll help. Here we are, 20 years later. I know where I was when that happened. I was tricked too. I thought, oh man, them people on the other side of the world hate our freedom, realizing we don't even have any. Not realizing it at the time. You know, we had more freedom than a lot of places, but not really. I mean, everybody's pretty well having a good time the past 20 years. Most places. Wow, that's a pile. Yeah. I don't know. No reason to be scared. No reason to be paranoid. What it is just prepare yourself. Be ready. Should have been prepared a long time ago. You know, and know your rights, know your Constitution, know your common law. And learn tactics. Learn tactics. You know, and I had uncles that fought in Vietnam. Stepdad fought in Korea. These are great uncles. They fought in World War II. And even back during the Civil War days, I had ancestors that fought each other. If you look at some of those tactics they used in Vietnam, you know, a lot of the people that were what would you call them? You know, I don't have it's early for me still, so the brain ain't working yet. Stayed up late. Your power barons of the area, your little kingpins or whatever, they didn't like to step out into the open, because somebody could be back in there and all of a sudden there'd be a pop and that guy didn't exist anymore. And that don't happen anymore. Not like it did then. That used to be a common thing. I mean, when an area was overtaken by a tyrant or I'm surprised we never saw that in them countries like Australia or anywhere like that. When them people started pulling that stuff, it's almost like if they're having those little speeches and things, they're doing it somewhere where nobody can see them, using a green screen or something, because I believe somebody would have popped them by now. That little country, New Zealand, they'd have drug that one down the road by our neck. What's other tyrannical areas? Man, you ever look at an aerial view of the English Supreme Court? It's in the shape of an eye. Man, that's ate up. What's up with all this symbolism stuff? You know, anybody's got to do something sneaky. They devote their life to being sneaky, belonging to sneaky groups. I'd say that's a low merit individual. You know, there's nothing special about that person except they're a sneaky piece of crap. Some people join things just because they don't have any friends and they're bored. And some people do it for financial gain. And I would say that today most of them do it for financial gain, because there's plenty of things to do. You know, back in the 1600s and even farther back, people did it because there was no social life. People were more scattered. So they would meet up and they would take a note of each other and who they are. And say, good to see you, brother. And they'd see him again in 6 months. It wasn't like today. But yeah, I'm surprised that force is not used anymore like it used to be. I mean, they try to use it on the people, but you don't see the people. You don't see that one crazy guy popping up anymore and taking out a bad guy. They used to be good at that. It used to be I mean, I guess it still happens in the Middle East. They don't mess around over there. But I think it don't happen in America because in America we know what we have and we know what we can do. And it's a kind of a waiting game. It's like, are you really going to go that far with it? How far are you going to push? How far are you going to push? Because, you know, even back in the days of the mobsters, if they couldn't get you, they'd get somebody you cared about. You know, that's what I'm trying to talk about, this whole thing of living in fear. There's no reason to live in fear. There's 360 million people here. Half of them are useless. The other half are kind of know what's going on. You know, there's only not even less than 1% of them are the tyrants. But I will say this, they're in every town, every county, every town, every community. They're all connected. And they think they're going to get a stake in the game, when in reality, they're just going to dispose of them when they're done using them. This video is more of a rant. And really, I don't get too excited about stuff. If you get too excited about stuff, you'll get stressed out. And you'll start to have health issues. You'll have heart issues. You'll have skin issues. You can give yourself breathing issues. You can pull muscles. You're better off focusing on proper nutrition. Focusing on your own future and protection. And it's not bad to get involved in your own community, locally, and weed out these local tyrants. Get rid of all Democrats. I'm not going to say the Democrat Party was always bad, and it was always full of bad people. JFK was a good man. Was his name McDonald? Was it Tom McDonald or something, or John McDonald? He was a senator that was killed in a plane crash in 1980 or so, in the 80s, early 80s. He was a good man. What's happened is, though, communists crept into the Democrat Party because it was the low-hanging fruit. They had more in common with it than they did with the Republican Party. So they took it over first, and then they started working on the Republican Party. They had the Democrat Party completely took over by the 1980s, late 80s. And they started creeping into the Republican Party at the same time, around 1980s. And they went for low-hanging fruit there, or they sent in their own operatives. I can't speak. But they sent in people pretending to be Republican and pro-Constitution, and when they were actually a communist. And, people can't see that. They still stuck in that two-party system thing. And I don't see it as a two-party system anymore. I see it as both parties got took over, but one got took over completely. The Democrat Party got took over completely long before they started getting into the Republicans. And it's because they were the low-hanging fruit. It was easy. You know, they were less knowledgeable, or they had Marxist college ideas. You know, they crept into our colleges in the 1960s. That's why you see so many of these professors, they all got the same mentality. And all these people became doctors. Coincidentally, they keep telling us to take certain medicines. They prescribe pills, they prescribe injections. And they label you as an idiot if you question if it's safe or not. So I would avoid all that if you can. Stay out of the hospitals if you can. I never hear of anybody dying of that one stuff at home. I only hear of them dying in the hospitals. Is it just me, or anybody else notice that? Y'all need to have a policy of protecting your home. And that policy should be, no matter what costume they're wearing, when they come overbearing and they start kicking in your door or ripping your gate down, that's when you need to feed them justice. You know, and be accurate. You know, don't miss, because the next guy's going to have to deal with it. There's 200 million people they got to go through. But somehow I just think that the medicine they're giving people is tied into these antennas that are everywhere. Like they can flip a switch and make them sick. And then those people would be disabled. And they'd have less to deal with. You know what I mean? It's possible. I'm not saying that's what it is. But I'm open to all possibilities. I'm not a closed-minded individual. Well, anyway, that was enough of today's little walk. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Prepare. Keep some grub put back for a rainy day. You know, in case you plan on going on a 6-month camping trip or so at home. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Ozark Pepper 1 out.